Okay, so this is the question in Zookeeper. Modifications can be done by multiple nodes. Do you agree with this or not?
Sir, if they are asking about concurrent modification, then it is false, but
Uh-huh.
else it is true.
Okay, so it is asking generally in Zookeeper, the modifications can be done by multiple nodes. Like if we say you have a client here, client, okay, and then client talks to name node. What do you say? Yeah, okay, leader. Okay, you have a leader here, and there are multiple, followers. So this is the structure. Okay, so if modifications are, so if there is a modification request, let's say this is modification request by a client. So this request is forwarded to, multiple, all the followers which are there in an ensemble. Okay, and the moment they update, okay, then they send the result back, the acknowledgement back. Yes, I have updated. Yes, I have updated. Yes, I have updated. Okay, so moment it gets yes from three of them, let's say if we have four followers, so it will provide a feedback to the client. Okay, that write request has been successful. This is what we talked about yesterday, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So here, when we are saying that modifications can be done by multiple nodes, okay, so we are asking about concurrent thing. Like this client is asking for modification, and there is another client which is also asking for for a modification. Okay. So first of all, this request will be processed, and after that, so as long as this client, let's say this is client one, this is client two, as long as this client is doing its job, okay, the job of this client is being serviced, okay, because it's a writing process, it's an updating process, okay, in that case, the ensemble is locked, you can say, okay, and after this thing is done, only then the client two can modify, okay, so in that way it cannot be done by multiple nodes. Modifications cannot be done by multiple nodes. Okay, so we'll say that yes, it is false. I hope you've understood this thing,
Yes, sir.
because
Yes,
we
sir.
want to get away with that race condition that we talked about at the beginning of this session. We do not want to enter into a race condition. Okay. Okay, and the running count. Okay, running count is a count of a sequential node. Like I talked about three kind of nodes in a Zookeeper that you can create. One is a persistent node, other is ephemeral node, and then you have a sequential node. And sequential node, when you create a sequential node, okay, what happens? There is a running count, right? 0 0 0 0 0, and then 0 0 0 0 1, and then so on. So is it unique for the entire Zookeeper, or is it unique for only for the children of a Z node? So what do you think? The running.
Entire zookeeper.
Okay, so entire Zookeeper. Okay, fine. So if it is the running count for the entire Zookeeper, okay, then there could be a problem. Okay, let me first of all say that, okay, if we say that entire Zookeeper, it is not correct. Okay, it is unique in a children in unique is unique only in a children of a Z node, because there are multiple children in a, let's say you have, this is the top node, okay, and then you have, let's say Z, let's say this is Zoo, okay, then you can have another, let's say home, okay, and then you can have another thing, let's say A, then you can have slash B, okay, then you can have here as, slash zoo slash B, let's say slash zoo and slash B, slash zoo slash A, slash zoo slash C, okay. So this is the hierarchy that we discussed about, okay. And if we say that the running count is unique for the entire Zookeeper, okay, then it will be difficult to manage or in coordinate among the Z nodes, okay. So that is why it is not maintained for the entire Zookeeper. It is only maintained per children. Okay, so let's say for this kind of a zoo, if we say that what is the count of this particular node, let's say this B node, suppose this B node is a sequential node. So for this P node, if this is the first node in this zoo, okay, it will be marked as 0000, and the similar can be marked for other nodes also. Okay, so there you can have a same count if you are going, if you're looking into multiple Z nodes. So it is not unique for the entire zookeeper. It is only unique only in the children of a Z node. Okay. So if you move from one children to another children, okay, one child to another child, okay, then also it can be unique. Okay, only in children of a Z node. Okay, so let's say here, this is a, you know, we are talking about this A and then this B, and here we are talking about slash A slash B. Okay, and this B is different from this B. This B is a folder in the home directory. You can, it's root directory. This B is in the A directory. Okay, slash B slash C, suppose. Okay, so as long as these children are concerned, these two are the children of slash A. Okay, it can be unique for them. So for 0000 here, it can be 0001 here. Okay, but when we are talking about, let's say, this kind of directory, which is not related in a child relationship or a parent relationship to the A directory. Okay, in that case, the node, the Z node, which are there in this directory, in the B directory, okay, may have the same kind of count. Like here also you can have zeros, zeros and ones. Okay, so it is unique only in children of Z node. Okay, so this is the answer, unique only in the children of Z node. Okay, I hope you've understood this thing. It's not unique for the entire zookeeper. Okay. An ensemble of 10 nodes can tolerate a shutdown of how many nodes? We've also discussed this thing in the last session. 4? Because more than half should be alive, right? So more than half is more than 5. So if it is more than 5, then it is 6. So that means 4. Do you agree with this or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. A leader is a machine configured as leader service by the administrator, or a machine elected as a result of election amongst nodes.
Elected as a result of election amongst nodes.
Election. So what is the name of that election algorithm?
Paxos
Yeah, Paxos.
algorithm.
Yeah, Paxos algorithm. Great. Okay, so can a leader step down by itself?
No.
Yes.
So who said no? So
Yes.
okay, so why no? First of all, why have you mentioned no? Because it's a part of algorithm, right? So that's why algorithm says that algorithm is made in such a way that if a majority is not available, then automatically it will be stepping down. Okay, no majority, then no leader cannot function. So automatically it will be stepping down. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you have 10 active nodes in a zookeeper ensemble and the read request could go to all 10. Yes or no? Only 9 members can respond to a read request, but because 10th node is a leader which is used only for writing data.
No.
So you mean to say this one? So see, again I'm drawing the same diagram. You have a client, you have a zookeeper. So here you have a client. Okay, so a client, any request to read or write has to go through a zookeeper. Okay, and in the zookeeper you have a zookeeper ensemble. Okay, zookeeper ensemble has a leader. Okay, and then multiple followers are there. Okay, and if it says that yes, every request has to go through a zookeeper, so zookeeper will talk to leader. Okay, so leader, whether it is a read request or it is a write request, okay, it has to talk to a leader. Okay, so how can we say that the leader is only used for writing data? No, it is also used for reading data. Okay, so this cannot be the case. This is correct. I hope you've got it. The request could go to all 10. Okay,
Yes, sir.
it will go to leader first, and then after that leader, the request will go to all the followers. Ultimately, it reaches all the 10. Okay, if you have 6 nodes, okay, named as node 1, node 2, and so on up to node 6 in an ensemble, the node 1 is a leader. Okay, if node 3, node 4, node 5 are dead, will node 1 remain as the leader? Tell me, see whether the majority happens or majority diminishes. So there are total 6 nodes. One of them is a
It
leader.
will step down.
Yeah, one of them is a leader. Total 5 nodes are there. So 3 nodes are down, 2 nodes are there. So 2 is not a majority. So it will step down.
More than 3 is required.
Yeah,
So
more
it
than 3
will
is
step
required.
down.
It will step down. Okay. Okay, we also talked about sessions last day. Okay, so we are just going to skip this. Okay, we are only interested at the time in the questions or the hands-on, if any. Okay. Yeah, this is what we have already seen yesterday. Guarantees also we have seen. Okay, now this is a question. If after giving confirmation to the user of a write operation, leader dies, okay, the data written recently will no longer be available, or since the confirmation is given to the user only when majority of nodes have saved, therefore the change will not be lost. What is your opinion? I hope you have understood the question.
The data written recently will no longer available.
Why so? It has already mentioned a confirmation to the user that the write operation is
Promise.
successful. Okay,
So because of that,
it's already confirmed it. So confirmation only happens when majority of the nodes have given, like this is leader, right? Leader has only given a confirmation when it has got acknowledgement from the majority of the followers. Okay, so let's say 3 is the majority of the followers. Okay, so it has given the confirmation to the client. Okay, and then it dies. So it doesn't matter just because the confirmation is achieved. Okay, so this is going to be a correct option since the confirmation is given to the user only when majority of the nodes have saved, therefore change will not be lost. So this is not going to be an option. Okay, because you have already got the confirmation. Okay, understood?
yes, yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, we have seen these operations also: create, delete, exist, get ACL, set ACL. Okay, so we are not going to look at it. Okay, so okay, so I'm just skipping this thing because we have already done it in the last class. Okay, zookeeper is strongly consistent or eventually consistent?
Eventually consistent.
Okay, and if anybody can tell me what is eventually consistent? What do we mean by eventual consistency?
एंड में कंसिस्टेंसी आ जाती है.
एंड में कंसिस्टेंसी आ जाती है, लेकिन कुछ टाइम के लिए ये इवेंचुअली कंसिस्टेंट होता है, इनकंसिस्टेंट होता है ना, कुछ टाइम के लिए इनकंसिस्टेंट होता है, राइट? बिकॉज मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द नोड्स हैव सेव्ड, have given a feedback, and then it immediately sends a confirmation to the client that yes, the write operation is done. Okay, but minority of them have not written the data onto their disk. So if during that time, okay, other client asks for the data, so the other client might get a stale data, right? Am I right or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Zookeeper APIs, we have already seen that async and async versions of the functions that we saw are already there. Okay. Okay, and I want you to read this thing. Okay, like notes, read the notes. Okay, this is something I did not talk about yesterday. So whenever we execute a usual function or a method, okay, though indirectly I talked about it, I want you to formalize this thing. Okay, whenever we execute a usual function or a method, it does not go to the next step until the function has finished, right? Such methods are called synchronous. Okay, because you have to finish that function, only then you can go to the next function. But when you need to do some work in the background, okay, you would require async or asynchronous functions. When you call an async function, control goes to the next step and you can say the function returns immediately. Okay, the function starts to work in the background. Okay, say you want to create a z node in a Zookeeper. Okay, if you call an async API function of a Zookeeper, it will create a z node in the background while the control goes immediately to the next step. Okay, the async function are very useful for doing work in parallel. Okay, now if something is running in the background, you want to be notified when the work is done. In such a case, you define a function. That function is called a callback function. Okay, so you pass it as a parameter. Okay, you define a function which you want to be called once the work is done. This function can be passed as an argument to the async API call and is called a callback function. I hope you are okay with this kind of description.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is very simply written language. Okay. Okay, which of these is true about async function? Async function returns immediately and on completion it calls back the function provided as an argument, or an async function returns you the output. We have just read a note about async function. Okay, what is your option? What is your opinion about this question? Yeah, any idea? Async function?
नहीं नहीं
First or second?
Sir, can you please move on to the previous slide for a moment?
Okay, okay. Okay, have you got the idea?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now you are in position to answer the question, right? So should I move on to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so tell me the output.
I think it's second option.
Second option. So why do you think it is second option? Why?
Probably because it would be running it and the at the background.
Okay, it will be running at the background, right? So that means if
Yes.
it is running at the background, so the control should return, it will return immediately. That function will return immediately, and on completion, it calls back the function provided as an argument. Because when you call an async, okay, you pass an argument as a function. that function is going to run immediately. Let's say you have a function f1, you have another function f2. Okay, just imagine. Okay, let's say you call this function async, as in async, async, and this function is let's say sync function. Okay, so you called f1, and when you called f1, okay, you mentioned f3 function as an argument. Okay, because you want that your processor you want that, okay, processor might be doing this job, okay, but this job should be done in a background. The control should be transferred onto the next function. Okay, so I don't see any point of see, this output will only be returned when the function is completed. Okay, when function runs in its entirety, okay, only then it will return you output. Okay, that's okay, it will return you the output. Okay, but this option says that it returns immediately. Okay, that means the control returns from this function immediately, and on completion it notifies you through the callback function, and that callback function is provided as an argument to it. Okay, a sync function will async function will call this callback method, and that callback method will return an output. Async function does not return an output directly. Okay, it will call that callback method, and callback method will get its output and will return that output to you. Have you understood this thing?
But sir, the note which we read earlier, there it was written that that work which is done, I mean, it won't. They weren't. They were not very much specific with it that they would return the output immediately.
Okay, yeah, see, immediately returning an output, that means there is no need for it to run in the background. The function is very small function. Okay, and there is no need in fact to make it as an async function. You make a function async function if a function is a lengthy function and you don't want to wait. Okay, so sync function, if you call it a sync function, the thing is, if you are calling a sync function, okay, client has to wait until it returns you the output, and output will only be returned when the function is executed in its entirety. Do you agree with this or not? The purpose of an async function is, okay, you know that this function is going to take time. Okay, but there are some things that can be done parallelly. Okay, let's say the function that is a sync function, okay, is taking up the cpu time. Okay, but there are some activities that are disk intensive activities. You want to read something from a disk, you want to write something onto a disk. In that case, processor job is not very much involved. Okay, you could use DMA, direct memory access controller, for that. Okay, and that DMA might do the job. Okay, so there is no involvement of a processor. So in that case, what do you do? If you say that, okay, some job is a processor intensive job, you can make that job as an async job. Okay, async job, making it as a sync job, you initiate that process, and then it returns immediately. The function returns immediately. Returning here doesn't mean that the function has finished its job. Okay, that means the control has been returned onto a next function. Okay, to do something on a foreground. Making a sync, writing a sync is making that function runnable in a background. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so though it is not clear from the notes, but I think whatever I have mentioned, it is clear from my description.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so after this discussion, whatever I have told you, okay, I think now you won't go with the second option.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let us click the first option and submit our answer. Okay, we have already seen the watches. Okay, watches are like, for the read operations, you can have watches associated with them, and you can trigger them when some write operation happens. Okay, something changes in a Z node, you want that to be notified, you can associate a watch. Okay, and we are not going to have a look at it because we've already done this. Okay, ACL also something that we have seen. Okay, so let's just skip it. Okay, so checking if you have entered a valid login password is called authorization. Do you agree with this or not?
Yes, true, sir.
Why true? How would you define authorization first of all? Do let me know. How do you define authorization?
Whether a person is liable of coming or accessing a particular resource or not.
So accessing a particular resource or not. Okay. Okay. There is also an equivalent, not equivalent term, but there is also a similar kind of a term, though it is very different from it. That is called authentication. Okay. Have you ever
Yes,
heard of that term authentication? Okay. What is authentication? I'm asking you, what is authentication?
in which it is decided that the whether a person who has entered a certain details which are the prerequisites
Uh-huh.
for accessing a resource has been found at correct or not.
Okay. So can you associate login password with authentication?
In deeper terms, yes.
Okay. In shallower term, no.
No, sir. In shallow term also, we
Okay. Then
can
that means in
link.
a deeper term also yes, and shallower term also yes. So in entirety, it is yes,
Because
right?
if it won't be authentic, obviously they won't be getting the resources.
Okay, so let me just clarify this thing. Okay, authentication means you are an authentic person. Okay, that means you have the valid credentials, you have a valid username and a valid password. That is, if you have, then you say that okay, you are an authentic user. Okay, authorization is, let's say, even if you are authentic user, do you have the privileges to update a file? Let's say it might be the case that you are a guest user, okay, or you are a user or at a very basic level. Okay, let's say you just suppose you have subscribed to some online lab resource. Okay, and if it is a case like you are a very basic user, in that case you are only able to read resources, you are not authorized to write onto the file. Okay, so when we discuss the access rights, okay, whether you are able to access resources in certain way, okay, in certain way, you are able to access a file, but are you able to write onto it or not? Okay, so that is authorization. Are you authorized to write or not? Okay, so when we're discussing rights, we do not discuss about passwords. Okay, password we discuss only in case of authentication. Okay, so we need a face recognition system, thumb impression system, or username password system, or Kerberos system. These systems are authentication systems. Okay, so these systems are authentication systems, these are not authorization systems. So a login password, valid login password is not an authorization job. Authorization comes after authentication. So the first phase is authentication. Enter into enter into the system. Okay, and then see what resources you have. Okay, and on those resources, what you can do. Can you update them? Can you delete them? Can you read them? Okay, so that is called authorization. Are you authorized to do this thing or not? I hope you now this is clear.
Sir, never thought that these two terms could be so
Yeah, they are very
distinguishable.
distinguished. Okay.
Blended explanation.
Yeah, yeah. So they both start with capital A. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
authentication and
False.
authorization, they both are entirely different. Okay. So being a student, let's say you are a student of APJ. Okay. Being a student, you are authenticated because you have the student rights, but you do not have a director's right or a faculty right. Okay, so faculty is authorized to do certain jobs which you are not authorized to do. Okay, similarly students, okay, are authorized to do certain jobs which teacher cannot do. Okay, like teachers cannot appear in exam which is going on in the current APJ, but students can appear because they are students, they are, they have filled up the registration form or examination form, isn't it? So every role of an individual, okay, has been exactly defined by authorization. But entering into a campus, okay, can you enter into a campus or not? Only then you can enter into a campus if you're a valid student or a valid faculty or a valid staff. Okay, so every person has various authorizations, but everybody is authenticated. Okay, like everybody who is related to APJ is authenticated. I hope now this explanation is clear. So I hope after this explanation, which one would you associate, true or false?
False, sir.
Yeah, false. Yeah, we have seen these use cases also. when not to use a zookeeper. Okay, these are the things. Okay, we have already seen this. We're not going to discuss it any longer. Okay, I hope you people have received that PDF in chat window, Zookeeper PDF.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now I'm letting you to navigate to another topic that is called yarn. Okay, we are going to talk about YARN now. Okay, that is called yet another resource negotiator. Okay, that is called yet another resource negotiator. Okay, so before moving on, let me just tell you what it is. Okay, so as its name indicates, it is a resource negotiator. Okay, so it will keep track. This is a tool that will keep track of what resources are available in one particular node. Okay, so it is one more step deeper than a zookeeper. Okay, so zookeeper, you can say zookeeper is looking from outside. Okay, let's say this fellow is a zookeeper, it is looking from outside. Okay, which nodes are available, it is saying that which nodes are available. But yarn is going to tell you on that particular resource which is available, how much RAM is available, how much disk is available, how much network bandwidth you can take out of it. Okay, one step deeper into that node. Okay, so zookeeper is like sitting outside, a guard. Okay, and yarn is like something which who has a knowledge of all the resources of that particular node. Okay, so that when a client say, okay, when say this is a client, okay, client says that I want to run particular job. Okay, this is my program, I don't have resources to run the program. Let's say program is written for 8 GB RAM, but this client has only 4 GB RAM. Okay, then client will talk to zookeeper, hey zookeeper, take my code and run it on to some system with 8 GB RAM. Okay, so this zookeeper knows that, okay, first of all it will tell, okay, this client is available, this client is available, this client is available. Okay, and it will ask yarn. Okay, so yarn is sitting inside those machines. Okay, so yarn is sitting inside those machines. It will ask these yarns, hey yarn, this client is asking a job to be done, but the requirement is like 8 GB RAM has to be there. Do you have 8 GB RAM available? Okay, so it says that no, I don't have. So it will ask so okay, whatever node is going to say, let's say this, say that yes, I have 8 GB RAM. Okay, then it will pass on it will pass zookeeper, and zookeeper will pass to yarn, and yarn will pass to the resource. Okay, now we are going to have a deeper look into how yarn performs this job. How does it maintain this detail of what resources are available? Okay, what is an architecture of a yarn? I hope now you have got some understanding of what this yarn is all about.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so yarn works at a level deeper than zookeeper. Okay, so I'm stopping a share, I'll come up with a yarn share. Okay, so first of all, I'll show you certain couple of slides so that you get a foundational understanding. Okay, okay, I'm starting from the beginning. Okay, so it is welcoming us, welcome to yarn. Okay, okay, fine. So in the ecosystem of Hadoop, okay, this is where yarn sits. So its name is yet another resource negotiator, as I've already talked about. Okay, let us see how it functions. Okay, so suppose you have now, this is a kind of a question which is asking about let's say you have some resources. Okay, now it is talking in terms of resources because we know that we are going to talk about something which is negotiating these resources. Okay, so let's talk about this question first. So it is saying that how much time would it take for a 1 gigahertz processor, 1 GB RAM computer to resize a million profile pics? Okay, it's like, why this question at the beginning? Because it is wanting us to appreciate that
Significance of
importance of,
yarn.
yeah, significance of yarn. Okay, it is saying that in a particular node, okay, you need to know what are the resources, okay, and why are they important. So one of the resources, the speed of a processor, that is measured in terms of gigahertz, okay, like 1 gigahertz. Then you, another important resource is a RAM, okay, which is also an essential component. Okay, Zookeeper, okay, works on RAM. And in case of a name node also, okay, you need to have a good RAM, okay, of HDFS. Okay, and this is like a data computer to resize. This is an operation, resizing. Okay, resizing an image, and here you have a million profile pics. Okay, how much time would it take for a 1 gigahertz and 1 GB RAM computer to resize a million profile pics? And there are certain base conditions also, it is which are mentioned. It takes 20 milliseconds to read a pic and 5 milliseconds to resize. Okay, so let's say for one particular image, okay, if you say that you have two, let's say here it is CPU and here it is disk. Okay, and CPU is the time to CPU, time of a CPU is resizing. So resizing will be done in lesser time, but more time is taken to read the pic. That means disk will take 20 ms to read picture 1. Okay, and at the same time CPU can, no, for the first time it is not, it will not be the case, because for the first time there is no image available. So let's say after you read an image from a disk, then you can pass it on to CPU. Okay, so it will take 5 ms. Okay, so this is 20 ms and this is 5 ms. Okay, and while this CPU is doing its job, at the same time you can ask for reading another image. How many images are there? There are million profile pics. Okay, and after this image is read, let's say picture 2 is read, then you can ask CPU to resize it. So this is resizing job, resizing job, and this is reading job. Okay, so 20 ms job, and this is 5 ms job. Okay, so if it is a case of only, let's say this is first image, second image, third image, if it is only a case of 3 images, okay, then what do you think, how much total time it is taking? 20 ms, 20 ms, 20 ms, it is 60 ms and then 5 ms, right? So 65 ms, you can think of 65 ms, okay, for 3 images. But we are not looking for only 3 images, we're looking for million images. Okay, and for one image, we say that for one image, okay, it takes 25 ms. Okay, and somehow, like in a longer run, like for 2 images, you say that you are taking 45. So for one image, you are taking 25 ms. For 2 image, you are taking 45 ms. Okay, for 3 image, you are taking 65 ms. Okay, so what is the major component out of them? The major component out of them is 20. You can ignore this 5 ms in a longer run. Okay, let's say for 100 images, okay, what you can think of for 100 images. Okay, so for 100 images, let's say for 100 images, so each time it is multiplying by 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, not 2.5 exactly, but let's say, let's just ignore this 5 ms. We are saying that it is multiplying by 2, 20, in fact, 1 into 20, 2 into 20, 3 into 20, right? So if it is 100, you will be saying that you multiplied by that by 100. So 20 and then two zeros after that. Okay, and if it is 1000, so one more zero will be added. Okay, though there will be 5 ms at the end also, but that, however, we can just ignore it, because this 5 ms is very, very small time. Okay, ignorable time. Okay, so when we're going to answer this question, okay, we will be only taking a look at the time which is mattering, and the time which is mattering is this time, the reading time. Okay, so let's take a look at the answer of this question. Okay, so it takes 20 milliseconds to read a pic and 5 milliseconds to resize. That was a question. Note that on a large scale, it will take 20 ms for each image processing, right? 20 ms. And then okay, then at the same time when the pick one which was red, okay, now it has been starting resizing. At the same time the disk can start reading the pick two. Okay, so ultimately if we are looking at it, okay, ultimately, like if we are saying that okay, if we are only interested in the first three images, okay, how many milliseconds are used? 20 millisecond, 20 millisecond added, 20 millisecond added, so total 60 milliseconds have been expanded. 20, 20, 20, and after that you send that okay fine, 20 more 80, and then 5 more 85. Okay, and if it is 10 raised to power 6 images, 10 raised to power 6 images, to multiply that by 20. Okay, so if you multiply by that 20, it is going to be 20,000 seconds. Okay, 20,000 seconds. So 20,000 seconds, if you want to convert it into hours, you divide that by 3600. Okay, so total number of hours are approximately 5 hours. Okay, 5.6 hours, you can say 5.6 hours. So if you are using threads or parallel processing, then the main time consumed is in the reading. Okay, not in the processing. Processing only take, you see, processing only take 5 milliseconds. Okay, so even if you have multiple cores in such a situation, okay, then even then it is not going to matter much. Okay, because the main job is in reading, is not in a processing. So if we increase the number of cores of a processor, okay, then we can improve on the processing time. Okay, like from 5 millisecond you could say that okay, I can do it in a 1 millisecond. Okay, if we have 5 cores into it, but though we ignore that 5 milliseconds, so there's no point divulging, trying to reduce that 5 millisecond at the end. Okay, so not much difference it is going to make if we have. Okay, so see here, this is saying that can this be improved if you buy quad core processor, 4 gigahertz processor? No, it is not going to be improving. Okay, because the thing which will be impacted, okay, we are already ignoring it. Is there anything that we can reduce those 2000 20,000 thing? Okay, these 20,000 seconds, that will be important. Okay, so in this case, no. I hope this kind of a thing is understood why it's not being impacted by a quad core, because the processing time is only 5 milliseconds. The major time taken is a reading. So that is a disk. Okay. So what you can do is you can replace your hard disk with SDD. Okay. SSD in fact, solid state drive. You can replace that with. Okay. So that reading from a disk is faster. I hope you're understanding it, right? Are you so you are not understanding? If you're not answering anything, that means you're not understanding. Okay, I'm moving back. Okay,
No, sir. It was understood.
it was understood. Okay, so kindly provide me a feedback. Otherwise, I am confused whether you understand me or not. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so here, okay, so here we are talking about something which is like managing resources. Okay, so see, here we have not started the formal discussion of a yarn. Okay, but we have sensed the need of a yarn. Okay, because yes, there are resources and we need to know the resources, right? So see, the heading of this slide is not yarn. Okay, it is MapReduce 1.0. Okay, but this MapReduce 1.0, the job of MapReduce 1.0 is similar to that of a yarn. Okay, this MapReduce 1.0 is a kind of a technology, okay, which is like, if you have multiple nodes, let's say you have HDFS cluster. Okay, you need to have some software inside this HDFS cluster which keeps track of the resources which are being used by HDFS cluster. And over here it is MapReduce engine. Okay, and if you have a name node, okay, we talked about name node in HDFS, we talked about data nodes in HDFS. Okay, if you have a name node, which is also called admin node, okay, then you also have a piece of a software here, okay, which is going to keep track of, okay, which is going to keep track of what are the resources available here. Okay, and similarly here also you need to have a software. Here also you need to have every data node, you have to have a software. Okay, and those softwares are written on this side, like job tracker is a name of a software we are talking about, which checks for all the resources in name node. Task tracker keeps track of all the resources of the data node. Okay, so number of data nodes, number of task trackers. Okay, so job tracker, like the architecture, when we discuss architecture of HDFS, we discuss that there is an admin node and there are multiple data nodes. Okay, the job request comes to this, first of all, it comes to HDFS cluster, and then from that HDFS cluster, it goes to this name node. Okay, and then it is the responsibility of a name node to distribute the job onto various data nodes. Okay, and similarly, when you are talking about a piece of a software which is running there, which is maintaining all the resources information about those nodes. Okay, those, that software is also doing the similar thing. Okay, it's also like, it's also directing this into different piece of softwares. Let's say if you want to know how many resources are there in that particular data node, okay, the piece of a software which is stored there, okay, is going to ask this information from this data node. Okay, if you are interested in looking for some resources in this node, so this job tracker which is residing in this name node will look into it. I hope this diagram is clear to you. This is not a yarn. Okay, this is not yarn, this
Can
is
you be more
MapReduce
specific?
1.0.
Hello.
Hello,
Uh,
yes.
Sir, can you be more specific that which node is keeping the track of the resources, name node or job tracker?
No, it's not a name, it's not a name node. Inside the name node there is a software, and that software is called job tracker.
Okay, okay,
Okay, inside a data
okay.
node there is a software, and that software is called a task tracker. So it's a job of these softwares, task trackers. Okay, and job
All
tracker.
right.
Okay, so maintaining resources is job of this section of this diagram. Okay,
Got it. Got
yes,
it.
this section of diagram is only interested in doing the job. Okay, so so it is like job completion. Okay, this is like a job, it's not job, it's job completion. And this is like job, you can say planning. Okay, so planning happens here. Okay, and
Sir,
Got it.
completion happens.
it can be thought of as a process management like
Yeah,
system.
process management, yes. So before assigning a job to a particular node, you need to know whether that node is able to do the job or not. Okay, so
Scheduling algorithm is there, I
yeah,
suppose.
you can have scheduling algorithm there, you can insert scheduling, but scheduling algorithm is just a part of it. Okay, there are many other things
Mhm.
that yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I hope now this thing is clear. So you have to do this job first so that you can do this job effectively. Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay, so now there is a concept of a yarn, yet another resource negotiator. Okay, so when Hadoop 1.0 changes to Hadoop 2.0, okay, then MapReduce 1.0 was replaced by yarn. Okay, MapReduce 1.0 we have already seen. Okay, I told you that in the last diagram I talked about MapReduce 1.0. Okay, when there is a piece of software in every node. Okay, that has been replaced with yarn. Okay, so let me tell you why this yarn has come. Things were going very fine as far as this. Let me just go over there. So over here also everything was working very fine. Yes, you have the piece of a software and piece of software is working very fine. But the thing is that this map reduce kind of thing, map reduce engine, job tracker, task tracker. Okay, lots of task trackers are there. One job tracker is there. Okay, these are okay for job or for batch oriented jobs, but these are not okay for stream oriented jobs. Okay, let's say if you have lots of videos and you want to create something like YouTube or some kind of a video streaming service, in that case this MapReduce 1.0 cannot do that job, because that is not a batch processing system. Okay, that is stream processing system. You need to have lots of streams continuously being processed. Okay, so for that matter MapReduce doesn't function. In that case, okay, it fails. Okay, so Yarn has understood this, like the developers of this big data, okay, has understood this importance. Yes, this map reduce is only specific, is only good for batch oriented jobs, but there are also other jobs which are not batch oriented. Like I talked about one particular case of a stream oriented jobs, when you want a streaming of something, streaming of videos. Okay, in that case you need to deviate your attention, or you need to have some other tool, okay, which is better than map reduce. and that is called yarn. Okay, so yarn says that I am capable of doing this map reduce also, and I am also capable of doing other thing. Okay, which is like stream oriented thing. Okay, like map reduce will take care of batch oriented thing. Okay, others will take care of other requests which are stream oriented or some other thing which are not batch oriented. Okay, so this is the purpose of a yarn. Okay, so it is also managing resources, it is also checking up of every. So in this yarn also there are softwares, okay, which are there, okay, in the nodes, but the name of the softwares are different. It's no longer a job tracker, it's no longer a task tracker. Okay, but the job of a job tracker can be distributed to multiple other softwares. Okay, though there is a much more complexity in a yarn from MapReduce, but yes, it is a comprehensive solution. Okay, it's a kind of a solution which can handle any kind of a job, whether it is a batch processing job or a non-batch processing job. I hope you're getting me right. So you're getting me, the batch oriented job and non-batching oriented job.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so see here how this so what are the non-batch oriented? So see, if you're talking about batch oriented job, then you're thinking of MapReduce. Okay, MapReduce is able to do the batch oriented job, but there are many other things like interactive thing, okay, online thing, streaming thing, graph thing. I only mentioned about streaming, okay, but streaming is not the only non-batch oriented thing. Interactive sessions, online sessions, graph sessions, in-memory sessions, HPC MPI sessions, and there are many others. Okay, so these are the tools. Days is for interactive session. Okay, HBase is for online sessions. Storm, S4, and so on. There are many other streaming tools for streaming jobs. Okay, Giraffe, Giraph. It's not graph, it's Giraph. Okay, Giraffe. Okay, is for graph oriented thing. Okay, Spark is for in-memory processing. Open MPI is for HPC, high performance computing MPI. Okay, and there are many other tools. Like you see, batch oriented job is only a fraction of the thing. Okay, is only one kind of a job. Like if you say that, okay, I'm not very much happy with the yarn, okay, then if you are not happy with the yarn, you also are not going to do this interactive things. So you also have to forget about these services. Okay, so that means your system will only be able to handle batch oriented thing, which is only done by MapReduce. Okay, but this is not a good idea to do that. Okay, the better thing is, okay, make friends with yarn. Okay, so yarn is yet another resource negotiator, and it is a comprehensive solution. Okay, be any kind of a service you want interactive, online streaming, graph oriented, in memory, HPC, MPI, other. Okay, so yarn is a solution for handling all these kinds of jobs. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and here applications run natively in Hadoop just because of a yarn. Okay, and yarn support for workloads other than MapReduce. Okay, so what is a workload for MapReduce? Batch. Okay, batch jobs. Okay, so batch jobs only are there for the MapReduce, but there we have seen that there are many other jobs. Okay, so scalability is very easy for yarn. Okay, let's say for example, if you have less number of resources for one particular node, okay, then yarn can quickly identify other system which has, let's say for example you want 8 GB of RAM. Let's say this has 4 GB of RAM, this has 4 GB of RAM. So it can include that 4 GB RAM into its kind of a cluster. Okay, say that, okay, now I have some kind of a system or arrangement that makes up of that 8 GB RAM requirement. Okay, so scalability means able to add resources on the go is feasible because of yarn. Okay, computability compatibility not computability compatibility with MapReduce. Okay, like for example, if you've written a piece of a code that was written for MapReduce 1.0, now you have upgraded your system with yarn. Okay, you do not need to change that code. Okay, just because you have a yarn in the house. Okay, so same code is going to be running. Okay, so it's a backward compatible. Okay, improved cluster utilization. Okay, so earlier cluster was only being used for batch processing system. Let's say only these many nodes are being utilized for batch processing system. Rest of them are unused because they were not able to handle any non-batch processing jobs. Just because Yarn is there, you can also make use of these these kind of things, these kind of nodes. Okay, and assign the tasks which are non-batch oriented jobs. Okay, because Yarn will automatically take care of this, whatever we have seen multiple things. Okay, so that improved cluster utilization, you can say. Okay, agility, things are being done in a faster way. Okay, agility has been achieved, can be achieved using Yarn. MapReduce was batch oriented, we've already discussed it about. Okay, so here is the mapping of the jobs. Like in a MapReduce, we saw job tracker, we saw task tracker. Okay, we did not see, however, slot. Okay, but slot is something like you can say a place where application can run. Okay, slot is some you can say place where application can run. Okay, so job tracker of a MapReduce one in Yarn, the same task of job tracker can be taken care by resource manager, application master, and timeline server. Okay, so you can say this is RM, this is AM, and this is TS. Okay, so there are three components which does the job of a job tracker. And task tracker, the role of a task tracker in MapReduce 1 has been taken over by node manager, or NM in short. Okay, why I'm writing these short forms? Because in the next slides, next coming couple of slides, you'll not see resource manager as a full written there. You will only see RM or AM in questions. Also AM, okay, TS means timeline server, NM means node manager. Okay, RM is resource manager. Questions also might not say use these nomenclature, resource manager. Okay, so you should be comfortable with these nomenclatures. Slot is like slot, which was being referred to as a slot in MapReduce 1 is being referred to as a container. So container, I told you it is a place. Slot, the same place where application is run. Okay, I hope this is okay. Should I move on to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the architecture of Yarn. Okay, so Hadoop 2.0 or 2.x. Okay, so all the versions which are higher than Hadoop 2 point something. Okay, so they have that Yarn. Okay, so this is the you can say the data flow or the request response session. They on this side you have a client. Okay, you have multiple clients. Okay, requesting for the services. They will request to RM. Okay, resource manager. So resource manager will do what? Resource manager. So all these are nodes. Okay, so in every node there is a piece of a software called node manager, node manager, node manager. So you have a resource manager, and here you have node manager. Why we call it a node manager? Because it only manages this node. Okay, why we call it node manager? Because it only manages this particular node. Okay, similarly here this manages only this particular node. Why we call it resource manager? Because as on a broader picture, resources are here also, resources are here also, resources are here also. That's why we called it a resource manager. Okay, and in terms of let's say if I take an analogy with the country administration, you can say that here some companies are there. Okay, let's say Microsoft company. Okay, Google company. Let's say here is a Google company. Okay, and let's say these are the companies, and here is the president of America. Okay, let's say Joe Biden. Okay, let's say Biden. Okay, so a Microsoft company wants to set up some offices in United States of America. Okay, and Google also wants to set up some resource, some head office, some offices or some other offices, branch offices in it. Okay, so it will ask to Joe Biden. Okay, so think of the Joe Biden is knowing of or controller of every state of United States of America. Let's say there are only three states we have mentioned over here. Okay, let's say this is A state, this is B state, and this is C state. Okay, let's say you can say it's a California. Here you can say some other state, Texas. Okay, here some other state which might be there in I'm not getting a proper name of that. Okay, and this Biden will talk to the, you can say, the manager or the governor of the states. You can say governor of a state. Okay, and this governor of a state will look for the particular space, whether this like the request of a Microsoft, just say Microsoft or a Google. Okay, so he'll ask for, okay, hey, governor of node A. Okay, do you have this much space? Microsoft is willing to open up an office. and Google also wants to open up an office. Okay, we'll look for resources. We'll say, okay, fine, I have a container. Okay, fine, you can open up. So in that container, okay, it can start an app master. Okay, it can start an app master in a container. App master is a piece of a software which runs in a container. Okay, and in future, if says that, okay, Microsoft mentioned that, okay, no, I had some limited requirements earlier on. Now I have more requirements. Okay, I wanted to enhance my. I want to enlarge my. I want to open up more my offices. Okay, then this resource manager will talk to another state. Okay, hey, governor of B, do you have space? Microsoft wants to expand its business. Okay, we'll do the same thing. It'll find out a container. Okay, and we'll start app master in it. So all the elliptical things which you are seeing over here are clusters, are not clusters, sorry, are containers. Okay, are containers. Okay, and in the container, like here like over here you see container written, here you see app master written. Okay, this app master is running on the container. Okay, it's like, yes, this has been assigned to resource manager. It has been registered with resource manager. In this case, resource manager has allocated it. Okay, and asked for this particular blue client. Okay, set up your business over here. Okay, and this red client, set up your business over here. Okay, and let's say if it wants to increase its expand its business. Okay, then resource manager will ask another node manager. So this container now is linked to another red container. You can say that this client has one office here. Okay, and second office here, and the third office, if it is required, then third office can be allocated from these particular nodes. So see, these are red node or a pink node, you can say red or a pink node. Okay, so these are being pointed to this app master. Okay, so for every client, it has a space. Okay, and if for one particular client doesn't have a space, then space is looked after. Okay, space is created by acquiring, by scaling up resources. Scaling is also one of the features that we saw in the other slide. Okay, that scalability is also easy in this case. Okay, so node manager, if we talk about this node manager, this node manager, this node manager, it manages and enforces node resource allocations. Okay, so like a governor of a state, and a governor of a state is responsible for all the resources that a state has. Okay, application master, if we talk about application master, is something which is running in the container. Okay, and this application master, okay, is actually like is going to run in a container where the job of a client is running. Okay, here you see one, two, three, four pink ellipses. So you see that four nodes are being allotted to this pink client. Okay, and one and two. Okay, so this app master, now it is going to take this container also along. Okay, so this app master is asking for 1, 2, 3 container. So that is why there is only one app master written over here, because initially this node has provided resources to it. Okay, then later on it asked for more requirement. Container you can get from here also. That's why this is solid arrow. Okay, solid arrow coming from this container to this app master, and there are two solid arrows from coming from these containers to these app masters. Okay, so containers are something over which app master will be run when that is assigned to that particular client. Okay, so application master we are talking about. Okay, it is per application. Node master is per node agent. Okay, and like application master manages application lifecycle and task scheduling. Okay, and examples of application masters are MapReduce, application master, Spark, AM. Depending upon if it is a batch oriented job, then MapReduce. Okay, if it is a stream oriented job, then it is a Spark AM. Okay, let me just have a look for a Spark. Okay, Spark thing, in memory job. Okay, in memory, if it is an in memory job, then it is a Spark AM. Okay, so kind of a job, what kind of a job we are looking for? Okay, so yes, you can handle multiple kind of jobs because you are dealing with yarn. Okay, I hope you this kind of a discussion is clear to you. The kind of a
Yes,
flow,
sir.
how client asks for a request, it has to go through a resource manager. Resource manager is like, president of India, or let's say president of United States. Okay, then you have multiple, chief ministers of states. Okay. So what is the role of a container? I told you a container contains is
Runs
something.
the application.
Yes.
Runs the application.
Yeah, it runs the application. It runs the client workload basically, right? It is a process, okay, which runs the client workload. It enforces security on client processes, okay, like how much memory should be consumed, how much resources should be allotted, okay. So it enforces security on client processes, okay. Who can access those resources? If one particular resource has been allocated to Microsoft, okay, Google cannot access it, okay. If one particular resource has been allocated to Google, Microsoft cannot access it, okay. So this is a flow that I have already mentioned. First, client submits an application. Okay, RM. Now I told you that. Now you have, as I mentioned you that you have to be comfortable with this nomenclature. RM launches the AM in the container. Okay, that means resource manager launches application master in the container. AM registers with RM. So these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and you see that arrows are also numbered. Okay, and if you take a look at this picture carefully and look at follow these arrows, then you will be able to understand the same story that I told you. Okay, AM asks for containers. Okay, RM allocates the containers. NM launches the app in these containers. NM talks back to RM about the resource usage. Okay, because no resource manager also has to know about all the resources which are being utilized. Okay, so that it knows if any new request comes, okay, to what direction it has to direct the allocatability. Okay, client talks to AM for a status. Okay, on completion, AM deregisters with RM and shut down. Okay, so similar thing, the same story. Okay, and now like I told you the kind of story, so they have cooked up another story like President Barack Obama, okay, and the governors. Okay, let's say Microsoft and Shell company are asking for setting up the business. Okay, so the same story. So anatomy of yarn. A resource request. When a resource request comes, so what can be a resource request? Resource request might include number of containers. Okay, memory, I want more memory, I want more CPUs. Okay, I want more locality constraints. Okay, either you can specify this resource request upfront at the very beginning, or you can later on also. Okay, you can also specify, yes, I need more. Okay, like if you are already done, if you're already a member of it, subscribed to a particular service, okay, you need some more services because you're thinking of expanding a business. Okay, then you can specify on the go. So application lifespan, how long an application can live on one particular container, it can vary too dramatically. Lifespan is categorized into three categories. Okay, one is a batch oriented thing, okay, which is MapReduce. Simplest case is one application per user job. Okay, one application per workflow or user session, as long as the session is active, so that is taken care by Spark. Okay, and there can be a long running application, and for long running application you can think of using Apache or Apache Slider or Apache Impala. Impala is also a product of Apache Slider or Apache Impala, and it is always on. Like servers are the kind of application which are always on. Okay, you cannot afford to shut them down. Okay, so just to say that, okay, server should always be on. You have multiples of servers, multitudes of servers, so that even when some servers goes off, okay, backup servers take the load. Okay, so that kind of application is like long running application, and for that matter you need to talk to these Apache Slider and Impala. You need to know how to make them usable. Okay, so how would you build yarn applications? First, you try to use existing frameworks like MapReduce or Spark, etc. Second, try to utilize existing tools to build jobs. Okay, for example, Apache Slider you can use to run existing distributed applications such as HBase. Okay, Apache Twill you can use, okay, which is built on Java Runnable. Otherwise, what you can do is building from scratch is complicated thing. It is not advisable to build from scratch. What you can do is Yarn has a template kind of a structure. So you can use Yarn projects bundled example. Okay, for example, distributed shell application is a kind of a template that you can think of. Okay, so it's not advisable to start building your thing from scratch. Okay, look for templates. Okay, and if you think that your job, the kind of job that you're going to do, the application that you're going to design is a batch oriented, MapReduce, think of using MapReduce. Okay. If it is in-memory thing, think of using Spark. Okay. And first of all, select your framework. Then select tools. Okay. Framework. Then select tools. Okay. And otherwise, if you're not okay with the existing framework or the existing tools, okay, then look for the templates. Okay. Look for the templates. You might find the solution in a template. So your solution to building yarn application will be there in either of them. Okay. So this is all about yarn. Okay. Now let us see what we have any questions on this yarn. Okay. I'm stopping a share. Will be sharing that question answer session on yarn. Okay. And let's see, do we have some hands on also or not? Just give me a moment.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, let us talk about these questions. Okay, so in MapReduce 1.0, who is the manager of a shop floor? Okay, let's say you enter into a shop, okay, to buy something, and then there is a manager, okay, and manager acts as either task tracker or a job tracker or none, okay, and then there are people around who will be able to help you, okay. So the first interaction, you interact with the manager. So what do you think? A manager is a job tracker or a task tracker?
Job tracker.
Yeah, it is a job tracker. The ultimate job is done by the task is done by task tracker. But first of all, job tracker sees where you have to go. Like if you're looking for a refrigerator, you would be directed to a refrigerator section only. Okay, there's no point roaming around AC section. Okay, which one is not an advantage of Yard? Look at those at all these advantages. Support all kind of workloads.
You could store data in Yarn. Last option.
Okay, you could store data in Yarn. So this is not an advantage, right?
Yes, sir.
And what do you know? What do you need to store data? You need HDFS, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you could run the services that run forever using Hadoop MapReduce 1.0. Okay, tell me the answer. True, MapReduce 1.0 provided a framework which could run in whatever way possible, or false, you could only run MapReduce
Sir,
jobs,
it's
which was
false.
it is false
You
because
could
MapReduce
only run
1.0.
MapReduce jobs, which was batch
That's
wise.
right. Yes, correct. Okay. If a task tracker goes down during the processing of a task, what does the job tracker does? Give the error to the user, unpredictable, tries again the same task tracker few more times and then gives up, or find another task tracker near the data and hands over the task.
Sir, it find another task tracker near the data and hands over the
Yes,
task.
yes, good. Okay, so it doesn't wait for anything. Okay. Okay, who performs the actual job, actual task? Task tracker, job tracker, or none?
It's task tracker, first
Task
option.
tracker. Great. And which one is not a component of Yarn? We saw some of the
Node
components of
manager,
Yarn. Yeah, Node Manager is
third
not
option.
the third option. Okay, Node Manager was there in Hadoop 1.0, right? MapReduce 1.0.
Yes, sir.
No, it is not a Node Manager.
सर बाकी तो सारे हैं ही एप्लीकेशन मैनेजर.
Application Master.
सॉरी, एप्लीकेशन मास्टर.
Application Master is
क्योंकि वहाँ
not
कंटेनर होता है. हाँ, एप्लीकेशन मास्टर.
Application Master. This is also not correct. Task Tracker.
बट दैट वाज देयर.
See, Task Tracker
ओके,
job
दैट
was
वाज फॉर
done
मैप
in.
मैप.
Okay, let us discuss this option. Okay, I'm stopping the share. Okay, I'm moving back to that yarn one more time. So let us see the components of yarn. These are the components of MapReduce 1.0. Okay, so you have a name node and various data nodes, and you have MapReduce, you have job tracker, you have task trackers. Okay, so task tracker is a part of MapReduce 1.0. It's not a part of yarn.
यस सर.
So in case of
गॉट.
yarn, okay, in case of yarn, task tracker is your node manager here.
यस सर.
Okay, okay,
गॉट इट.
got it. Okay, so now I'm sharing that screen again. Okay, should I what should I click?
टास्क ट्रैकर.
Task tracker. Yeah, task tracker. Yeah, we saw that architecture. Okay, let's not discuss that. That's the same old story. Okay, client interacts with which component of yarn first?
इट्स रिसोर्स मैनेजर,
Resource.
फर्स्ट ऑप्शन.
Resource manager. Yeah, resource manager. Okay, which of the following components of yarn run forever?
रिसोर्स मैनेजर.
Resource manager. Yes, resource manager. Because application master, the lifespan of application master is as long as the application is active. Okay.
सेम इज विद द
And
कंटेनर.
container also is being used only when the application is, because application master runs over the container, right? So it's a resource
यस सर.
manager which is going to run forever. Okay. In a typical Spark application, okay, running on Yarn, which of the following Yarn components acts like the client?
Probably it would be node manager because other three would be indulged in performing the other activities.
Okay. Any other idea from any other fellow in the class? What I am guessing is there's only one student who is answering my question. But if I see a a participant list, there are 8 other people. I suppose Priyanshu is answering my question, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what about Navleen, Muskan Gupta, Mannat Gupta, Maninder, Deep, Kinda, Falak, Name Singh? So they do not participate. I have observed these things since I have started taking classes. Yes, other people kindly contribute to the discussion. Okay, it's not like I'm only teaching to Priyanshu. I'm also teaching to you people. If you have something to add on, if you have something to discuss, okay, you are free to do that. I don't even know whether they are listening me or not. Okay, let us discuss this question in the comments. There are certain comments. Okay, so the question is not clear. First person says that question is not clear and the concept was not explained. See, this Spark concept was not explained, right? Spark application running on Yarn. Okay, so which of the following Yarn components is like a client? In the last lecture, client was shown as a separate node and does not belong to any the answer. So clearly answer can't be any of the options as per your last lecture. Okay. So it says that, okay, now it was also went on to share this slide. It's okay. Please refer to the image taken from the last lecture. Client is nowhere among the answer options. Okay, fine. So CloudX Lab, okay, has answered this. Like Ayush Jaiswal has asked this question. Can this question be explained by someone? So this is the explanation. There are two types of application masters: MapReduce AM, Spark AM. Okay. Question is asking about Spark AM. As per the discussion, application masters are the programs that run inside the container that we have already discussed it about, right? The AM, that means application masters, registers with the resource manager so that client can connect to it. Okay, so it is helping the client to connect with the Yarn application. So it is acting like client. Okay, you can go through the lecture one more time for better understanding. All the best. Okay, so have you understood this thing, what has been mentioned over here? As per the discussion, application masters are the programs that run inside the container. Application master registers with resource manager so that client can connect to it. Okay, so it is helping the client to connect to a Yarn application. Okay, so what was your answer? Who was answering my question? Brianshu, what was your answer?
I thought that this could be node manager since all of the three are working some other tasks like application master, container, resource manager. They are indulged in other tasks, so probably it
No, no,
would be
no.
node
See,
manager. But
application
now
master.
I got
See,
it.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, fine. I have heard you. But see, try to understand. This application master is a kind of thing which runs on a container once a container has been allocated to a client. Are you
Yes,
getting
sir.
me? Okay. In that case, application master is acting on behalf of a client. Okay, so once the job is done, application master will then deregisters, will notify to a client, yes, yes, I have done the job is done, right? Application master is acting as a client in this case. I hope now you have understood.
Sir, but in the comment section that CloudX Lab, they
Yeah.
mentioned that it was resource manager.
Okay, let us see. AM registers with resource manager so that client can connect to it. So it is helping the client to connect with the Yarn application. So it is acting like a client. Yes, it is
Okay,
resource
okay.
manager. Yeah, it is resource
Yes, sir.
manager. Yeah. So should I click resource manager?
Yes, sir.
This is wrong, right? Now, if I click application master, then it is correct. Understood why so?
Got it, got it.
The reasoning that I provided you, okay, that it's an application master which is acting on behalf of client. Resource manager is not acting on behalf of client. Resource manager is a kind of a server which is running for all the clients. Any kind of a client can
Yes.
connect to a resource manager, right? But for that, let's say for example, I took an example of Microsoft and Google. Okay, Who is taking care of Microsoft resources? It's an application master which is taking care of Microsoft resources. For Microsoft, application master is different. Like I told you, a pink client and a blue client, right? Pink client and a
Yes.
blue client. Okay, so who is representing that pink client? There are pink ellipses also. Okay, similarly for a blue client also there are blue ellipses. Okay, ellipses which are application masters.
Got it. Got it.
Got it? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So it's not resource manager. Who enforces the security constraints on the user's workflow?
Node manager.
I think that.
Okay, let's check whether it is a node manager or not. No, it is not a node manager. How did
Is
you
it
answer this
container?
node manager? First of all, see, when you are answering such questions, okay, you should be 100% correct. Yes, it has to be there. There has to be a solid foundation of your answer. Okay. It's not like, okay, out of the blue, you say, okay, it's a node manager. Maybe it is a node manager. Maybe it's so when there is maybe involved, that means something is not clear. You should be 100% clear about the thing. Okay. Okay. For a clarity of this thing, let me stop this here. Okay. And let me go back to that yarn documentation. Now, here we have seen in these slides, okay, like here, node manager, the job of a node manager, it manages and enforces node resource allocations. Okay, application masters manages application lifecycle or task scheduling. Okay, so there are responsibilities of these node manager and application masters are written. Okay. Okay, and then we talked about, let's say here it is not listed, here it is not listed. Okay, here container, when we were talking about container, okay, here it was written enforces security on client processes. Okay, so this thing, when I was on to this slide, okay, this should have been cleared from here only. The question is talking about who enforces security on client processes. Okay, so container enforces. Okay, because it's a container where application master is going to run. It's a container where application is going to run. And I've also written like, okay, this is a container. Container is something like application is going to run in it. Okay, so if it is a kind of variable kind of thing, if you run an application inside, so application cannot go out of it. Okay, so the data that it has, okay, it has to be here only, here only. So you say that the resource constraints are mentioned. Okay, security is mentioned. Security is enforced on a client processes. What is being run in a container? Application master is run, right? App master is run on a container, and this app master is acting as a client. That was discussed in the last question that I was discussing. So client is being represented by application master, and application master is running in a container. So it's a container which is an answer. Okay, it's not a node manager or something else. I hope you've understood now.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, so let's talk about, okay, now let's talk about this container. Let's say that, okay, this is a container. So this is the correct answer. Now, who runs the workload?
Con- Container.
Okay, container runs the workload. Great. Okay, an application can have multiple containers. Like if Microsoft wants that it has to expand its business, it can also, resource manager can talk to another state. Okay, governor of.
Yes, sir. True.
Yes, it can have multiple containers, right? So true,
Yes.
application can have multiple containers. Okay, think of that story. Okay, because when you think of a story, you remember more. Okay, remember for a longer period. Okay. Okay, we talked about, we have seen this, what resource request consists of and all these things. Okay. Life cycle of an application can vary, but it can be one of the following. Does it run forever? or runs as long as session is inactive, runs as long as user workload is executing, or runs based on a schedule? It cannot be one of the following. It cannot be. So the question is, it cannot be. It runs forever. Yes, there are applications which can run forever. Okay. Runs as long as session is active. Yes, it can be one of this. Okay. Runs as long as user workload is executing. Yes, it can be. Okay. It should not be like it runs based on the schedule. So this is something which should not be the case, which cannot be the case. Okay. It's like you are supposed, application is supposed to run as long as either forever, okay, either forever. So if you are saying it forever, there is nothing of scheduling, okay. Like this time I'm going to function, that time I'm not going to function, this time I'm going to function, that time I'm not going to function. Not scheduling should not be of this nature, okay. Either it should run forever, or it should run as long as action is active, or an application should run as long as users workload is executing, okay. But there should not be any schedule, there cannot be any schedule. I hope you have understood the question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, resource request to resource manager of Yarn does not include what? Does not include number of containers, does not include memory needed, does not include CPUs, does not include resolution of display devices attached, does not include locality constraints such as file in HDFS. What do you think? It's a very simple question. You should not be taking much time about it. Like, yes, resource request, you can ask for number of containers, okay, depending upon
Memory.
memory needed also you can ask for, CPU also you can ask for, locality constraints you can also ask for. But what about resolution
Resolution.
of display devices? This is something very weird, okay. So this is an option that does not include a yarn request, okay. Doesn't mean that you cannot request such thing, but you cannot request such thing through yarn, okay. You can request such thing through other tools. Okay, so that's it. There was no, there was no hands-on onto it. Okay, and let me also share the slides of a yarn. Okay, and in the next class, which we are going to meet, next class will be R class. Okay, and then on a Friday and Saturday, we'll be doing some other topics. Okay, maybe Oozy or something, Oozy, Scoop, will be doing. Okay, so in short, okay, I am, I want you to know the Hadoop ecosystem, so that when you actually get to work in a real environment, okay, you know these things. So your learning should be as smooth as possible. Your migration from a student life to professional life should be as smooth as possible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm just sharing that yarn thing with you people.